Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning everyone. So today, big step forward, we also have the technology. So we can start with the first part of the course of the history of political thought. Okay, part one, from Antiquity to Middle Ages. So what we see with this in this class is how the ancient Greeks invented political theory. Invented political theory as we know nowadays. So they invented politics somehow. Why they invented politics? We use this word politics. Politics. How this word originates? What is the origin? Yes.
It comes from the word police, which is called city-states. There's a proper translation, but it's called city-states.
Yeah, exactly. The word politics comes from the word polis, and the word polis meant city in ancient Greece. But this city was a city. It was what we can call nowadays city-state. But actually, they were it's more correct to describe them as city republic. So now we live under the state. Our main scale of politics is the state. Sovereignty is on states. The entire world the entire planet is divided in states, and each state has sovereignty, can wage war, other things, and each state corresponds to a nation and so on. Time, the main scale of politics was the city-state, which is called police. Because let's say that this civilization found its center in ancient Athens, who got rid of Persian domination. At the time, the Persian was the most important empire, the most important political power. The Greeks got rid of the Persian, the domination, and started this way. Pericles, he wrote, our constitution, the constitution of Athens, doesn't copy the laws of neighboring states. We are rather a pattern to others than imitator to ourselves. Its administration favors the many instead of the few. This is why it's called a democracy. They also invented democracy. We call it ancient democracy, which is different from modern democracies. Very different. But they invented the word democracy. And what does it mean, democracy? What is in ancient? Yes. Demos means
population. Kratos is like governing.
Kratos means
Governing.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So demos, people. Kratos, government. Is the government of the people. So the point is that before that moment, you had, a leader, a tyrant. You have, let's say, was a kind of king. And all the political power was concentrated in the hand of this person, who sometimes was even considered as God, like in the case of ancient pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Then the Greeks, for the first time, started to give the power not to one person, but to the people, to the demos, the government of the people. And so Pericles says we're trying to invent something new, and this something new means giving the power to the many, So they called it democracy. But it was a different democracy compared to modern democracy. Why?
Because at that time, the only people that could vote or were involved in politics were men only, and only men citizens, like in that state. But today, everybody can vote, everybody can, be part of the system. And also theirs was direct democracy, because it was very...
Exactly. So the main thing is they had democracy in ancient Greece. In Athens, they started democracy. It was very different from our democracy. Why? Because it was direct democracy. Means all the citizens went to an assembly, which was called the Boule, and in the assembly you took decisions all together. By direct democracy, with people, all the citizens voting. So it was direct democracy. But who were the citizens who can vote? It was only 10% of the population. Why? Because it excluded women from this democracy, it excluded women from this democracy, and also it excluded all the slaves, which were many people, the underage, which is starting nowadays, kids cannot vote, and it excluded the those who didn't have citizenship, those who were not citizens. So this is very important institution, citizenship. This meant, we will get back later to citizenship, but this is, in that case, you could be Athenian citizens only if both your parents were Athenians. So you had a lot of non-citizens in Athens. Only the citizens could vote. All in all, let's say 10% of the population could participate in democracy. They were the citizens. Direct democracy. Direct democracy, this means that if you were a citizen, you have the right to participate in the boule, in the assembly, but it was also kind of a duty. It was a shame to be a citizen and not participate in the assembly, not say something. So it was a direct democracy in which it was not a separation between public life and private life, because your life as a citizen meant that you had the duty to participate in the political life of the community and to express your value as citizens in your private life as well as in your public life. So there was not a distinction. We will see how. So why do we start with ancient Greece? As you say, they gave birth to concepts that we still use, like democracy, aristocracy, oligarchy, tyranny, plutocracy, and, as we say, the very word politics comes from these city-states that were the way in which the ancient Greeks lived together, But all in all, the development, they started these kind of problems that we still nowadays have. They were the first in ancient Greece, 500 years before Christ, that they started to say, how should a government look? What is the best form of government? How should we govern human beings? It was the first time they started to address this point altogether, and so they started Western political thought. So, as you said, politics come from police. There was this interconnected cities, and so the concept of city was crucial. It was a community in which people were living together in this city to foster mutual benefit, mutual welfare. So what were the main principles of Greek political thought? So the first point is they were looking for the best form of government. They really obsessed with this problem. What is the best form of government? How should a government be organized? Then it was deeply intertwined with religion. There was no separation between politics and religion. Politics, moral, ethics, they were all together. This is why the concept of virtue was very, very, very important. The concept of virtue. Because you don't have separation between private life and public life. You don't have separation between ethics and morality, between politics and religion, politics and ethics. So being virtuous was very important. They very much focus on what does it mean being a good citizen. Being a good citizenship in your private life and in your public life, which didn't have separation. This is why when we study ancient Greek, we focus on these two concepts. Citizenship, what does it mean being a citizen, and virtue. So, citizenship, what does it mean? We still have this concept, is very important. What does it mean being a citizen? What is citizenship for you?
Today's definition or before?
In general, as a concept, how would you define citizenship?
Citizenship is basically kind of a title and sort of both responsibility and obligation that people that live in a certain state have.
So, citizenship, citizenship is membership, is being a member of a political community. So for the ancient Greece, the political community was the polis. So being a citizen meant being a member of this political community, which was citizenship at the time. We still have it nowadays. Being a citizen means being a member of a political community, which is nowadays is the national community. is being a member of a national community. So we can think of citizenship in terms of membership. Like you have the membership of a gym. A gym. What does it mean you have the membership of a gym? What does brings you? Brings you the right to get into the gym, use the machines, get the shower, and so on. It also brings you some duties. You have to pay. You have to pay to be a member of the gym, and you have to respect some rules. You cannot go to the gym and punch the other people in the face. I have rules. So, being the member, having a citizenship, it brings you rights. It brings you rights. Why? When they have immigration, immigrants come to a country, and then afterwards, if they stay a little bit, they would like to get citizenship. They would like to become citizens of that state, of that nation. Why? Because it brings you rights. Because it brings you rights. The right to vote, the right to participate in the decision of the government. It gives you civil rights, the fact that you can get married in the country and so on. It gives you social rights, access to education, to welfare, and so on. And also a right to mobility, the right to freely enter and exit from the country. So it gives you rights. It gives you rights. But it also comes with duties, which is, a very debated point. Duties. Citizenship comes with duties. So, right now, the only remaining duty is paying taxes. Paying taxes is a very important duty. Nobody would like to pay taxes, but it's a duty of citizen. You have to pay taxes. Now, even if you're a resident, you have to pay taxes. So, not very much linked to citizenship anymore, but traditionally, if you're a citizen, you have to pay taxes. Then, right now, like 100 years ago, no, let's not 100, let's say 40 years ago, in Italy, and in most European countries, you also have another very important duty, not very pleasant if you were citizen. What were the other duties? Military, yeah. You have to go 1 year of your life, you have to spend, military. Why? Because maybe the nation needs to be defended, so you have to spend 1 year to be part of the army in case they attack us. You have to fight. You have to fight. So this, right now it doesn't exist anymore because you have technology. So doing war is a matter of technology more than having many people. But for in the 20th century, million of young citizens of different nations went to die for their nation in World War I, World War II as a duty of citizen. Nobody wanted to go, So let's say that nowadays we see citizenship more as a pillar of rights, but traditionally it comes with rights and it comes with duties. In the Antiquity, they focused very much on the duties. The duties were very important. So the fact of war was a real thing. They could be invaded in every moment, and each citizen had the duty, to be a good warrior and to be ready to go at war for their city-state. Athens and Sparta, they were fighting all the time, but they were fighting seriously. So the duty of being protect your country with the army. This is a duty of citizenship, very important. You also had another duty. Many city-states, which was the duty in your life to serve in the government. At least once in your life, you must be, one member of the government, or maybe a judge, or maybe any kind of magistrate. You had to perform some duties as public servant, because you could not just, stay in your private life. No, participating in the public life of the community was a duty. Right now, even voting, in theory, in Italy, voting for the national election is considered a civic duty. We have such, and for 30, 40 years now, 90% of the population was going to vote, but we don't have it anymore. So you have duties, and these duties were very important. This is why the concept of virtue was very, very, very important. They considered that virtue was very important for good government. So these were the two main concepts you have to remember when we talk about ancient Greece: citizenship, the membership into the political community, that was the polis at the time, and the idea of virtue, the idea that you have to be a good citizen, because citizenship comes with duties, a privilege, a honor, and you have, to comply with this honor by, performing your duties as a citizen, participating in the public assembly, giving your contribution to the government, going to war whenever it is needed. How do we call this ideology that I describe nowadays? How is it called, this ideology? So this ideology, this political doctrine, this political theory is a political theory based on the idea of the duties of citizens, of the duty of participating, on the duties of being part of the political community. Any idea about how this is called? So let's say if you look at the United States of America, it's very important, because in the United States of America you have two parties, right? Which are the two parties? Yeah, so the idea I'm talking about is republicanism. Republicanism was born in ancient Greek. So we have to remember that the ancient Greek and the ancient Romans, they focused very much on the idea of a republic. Republic, what does it mean, republic? Res. Yeah, res is a thing, publica. It's a public thing. It's the idea that politics the political institution is something public that belongs to all of us. And the idea that all of us have to participate in this thing, in the political institution. So is participation. Is participation with virtue. What does it mean, virtue? Participation with virtue means that you participate in the political life of the community in the interest of the community, not on your private interest. So political virtue means acting for the public good and not for private interest. Public virtue is public good instead of private interest. Remember this. So republicanism is the idea that you have to take care of the political institution as a common thing that belongs to anybody. And so you have to participate. You have to participate. And this participation, can until the idea that you have to give your life for the political community. If there is war, you must be soldier, you must be armed, you must be ready with your arm. This Republican tradition is very important for the United States of America, whose constitution originally was inspired by Cicero, a Roman thinker that we will see soon. So, and these Republican ideas, what does bring with them? The idea, the controversial idea that you have in the American Constitution that each citizen has the right to bear arms. This was crucial in the Republican tradition, because in ancient Greece is the idea you want a republic, you have to be part of the republic, you have to participate, and you have to be a good soldier, good warrior. You must be able to wage war, to go at war, to give your life for the political community. This is the crucial duty of citizenship. So you must be able to do war. So you must possess your own arms and you must be able to use it. This is why for the Republicans, for the Republican Party, the amendment to the American Constitution that says that citizens has the right to bear arms is so crucial, and this is why this is such a big debate in the United States of America. Also, if you look at the United States of America, another topic related to this idea of republicanism. When there was COVID, they had the presidential election. So there was a thing, the Democrats, they were saying, let's try not to kill the entire population and make people voting online. And the Republicans say, no, you want to vote is an important thing. If you're shy and if you're scared to die to vote, stay home and you don't vote. Because you have to show some kind of participation, some kind of willing to participate. So, this is the first thing we have to bear in mind about the ancient political thought. It's the concept of republic, it's the concept of republicanism. It's not very much considered in contemporary political debates, but it's a very important idea. It comes with the republic, it comes with the idea of civic duty, So, civic duty is the idea that you take care of the common good. Last a few days ago, I had a German colleague who came visit us here in Messina, and he was shocked by the fact that we had garbage everywhere in the streets. And he was saying, it's a bit dirty, this city. And another colleague from here said, it doesn't work very well. It doesn't work very well, the cleaning service provided by the state. The guy said, but if in Berlin something happened, you have the self-organization of the neighborhood, of the community, who organize themselves, everybody cleans up a little bit, This is the idea of republicanism. Republicanism comes with some civic duty. Civic duty means that all citizens take care. If they live in a park, maybe they take care of the fact that the park is clean. It's clean, that it's not dangerous. So you don't wait for the state to send, clean people or the police. You try to be part of this. Why? You don't wait for the state, because in the republic, you are the state. You are the state. Each of us is the state. So a republic is a state which is based on the active participation of all people. This is why a republic is contraposed to monarchy. Because in the monarchy you have the personification of the state into one person, which is the king. And this is the opposite idea of the republic, which means the state belongs to anybody. The states, anybody, everybody are the states. So this cannot be personificated in a king. Republicanism. So it's based on the idea of participation, but participation through virtue. You don't participate in the political life because you want to private interest. Maybe you have your private company and you have some interest in getting a law which favors your private interest. No, participation in the public interest. Participation in the public interest is political virtue. Participation is based on this idea that you have civic duties. So this is the idea of republicanism and the idea of republic. Okay? Don't forget it. When we go to the final exam and I ask you, tell me about ancient political thought, you answer. Dear professor, the main principle of ancient political thought are citizenship, virtue, and republic. And republicanism. Republic is a political community based on participation and blah, 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 blah. So don't forget this part. So how does it work, the Athenian democracy? This republicanism in action. You have every citizen. We see that citizens were only 10% of the population, but every male adult citizen had to participate in this direct rule, in this direct government, in this direct democracy. So you had this assembly called the Boulé, which meant once a month, and if you didn't go there, it was pretty much a shame. It's not you had to. If you say no, but I was busy with my wife, we had to go. No, this is really you're not virtuous in this case. So you have to go. Everybody can go. It was not that you reach. You have, but if I participate, you not reach everybody. Not literacy. Not you didn't have to go to school. You didn't have to be able to read. You didn't have to have some kind of property. It was direct democracy. Everybody could participate. Okay. Every citizen could say, I want to make this law. Let's discuss it. Then you have to discuss every law that was proposed. Okay? Every citizen could also say, because you have a government, you have magistrates, and every citizen could become part of the government and magistrates. As we said, women and slaves were completely excluded, and this direct rule was only the 10% of the population. So you can go in this Athenian in this assembly once per month, and you could say whatever you want. You had the right of a proper trial by a jury, which was composed by the population. As we saw, you have the right to bear arms, you have the right to participate in assembly, and you have the right to hold government office. Okay? The important thing is that this idea that you have the right to hold some government office in some city-states was a duty. In some city-state you had the duty to participate. This is why in some republic, instead of having elections, there was the lottery. You know, the lottery, how do you say it? Lottery, you understand lottery?
Yeah.
So, estrazione, sorry. So everybody will put all the names like we say. We say, I'm Federico Tomasello is the professor here, right? But in Latin democracy, it wouldn't be like this, that you already arrived here. So we put all your names in the box and we extract who is the professor for the next class. What does it mean? That you must be prepared for this. Must be prepared because you could be professor. So this means that all citizens had the duty to know, the republic, politics, to be informed and so on, because they could be extracted, they could become part of the government. So they had the duty to know things. So this is the thing. But the only freedom they didn't have was the freedom of religion, because you had all these gods, they were considered part of political life, and so they participated. So in the Microsoft Teams, you find this text. It's just 4 pages. It explains pretty good the things that I said. Or you read my slides, or both, even better if you go. Again, main concept, the origin of the word politics is polis, the city-state. The idea of citizenship. Citizenship is being member of a political community, and this membership comes with rights and duties. Nowadays, this political community, we call it as a nation, but as at the time, it was not a nation, it was a city. It was a city, So you have this membership, and then it's in ancient, how do we get citizenship? In Athens, you got citizenship if both your parents were Athenians. Okay? So, and this we call it jus sanguinis, means your blood is Athenian or your blood is Italian. Like nowadays in Italy we have this jus sanguinis. Why? Because if your ancestors until 3 generations ago were Italians, you can apply to get Italian citizenship because they think in your blood sanguinis, you're part of the nation already. This is jus sanguinis. And then the opposite is jus soli, like in France. Who knows what is jus soli criteria for getting citizenship?
I think you just have to be born in that country.
Yes, exactly. So it's solis. It depends on which floor, which land you were born. If you were born in France or in the United States of America, you become citizen because you were born in that territory, right? If your ancestors were free, if you have some French blood, but your ancestor never, so you don't have it. So, and this is a big matter of debate still nowadays because, so like in Italy, we have, you have a kid who is born here from foreigner parents. This kid is going to kindergarten, primary school, high school, and so on. In Italy, he speaks perfect Italian, maybe with even the accent of the place, but he has to apply to get Italian citizen. That doesn't get automatically. While, for example, you have people that were born in Argentina, never been in Italy, don't speak one word of Italian, but since their grandfather was born in Italy, and maybe stayed here until he was 5 years old, he can get citizenship. So this is citizenship is still nowadays a big thing. But in ancient Greek, it was very much connected with virtue. With virtue, the idea that you have to be a good citizen, that you have to act in the interest of the political community, not in your private interest, and this was the idea of republic and republicanism. This was also because religion and politics were deeply intertwined. This means that moral, ethics, and politics were considered the same things. And then, as we will see, the ancient Greek political theory looked for the best form of government. And this was the contribution of the 3 guys we're gonna quickly address, and we have to study. So this was Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. So Plato was a student of Socrates, and Aristotle was a student of Plato. And around 387 before Christ era, Plato founded the Academy in Athens, which is considered the first university in the history of humanity, in which they studied philosophy, mathematics, and other subjects, mostly philosophy and mathematics. So, and he existed for even 1,000 years. This is the representation of the academy in Raphael's painting. Because what we call the Renaissance, which was at the end of the Middle Ages, was based, on refocusing on this antiquity tradition. So this is why the painters of the Renaissance focus so much on the thing. So this was the representation of the academy. So let's start with the first one, with the first author we want to focus on. So Socrates, we consider it the founding father of Western political philosophy. So he was the first Greek philosopher, okay? Why? Because at the time he was the first one who, instead of studying the nature and science, he started to study, what we nowadays call society. They didn't call society at the time, but the way of which humans decide to live together. So he started to study, focused on virtue and justice. So what we want to remember with Plato, what is very famous is the Socratic method. The Socratic method is the method he used to teach the students. So let's start with this. Socrates, this guy, he was very, very ugly. He was very ugly. He dressed not very well, as you can see, and he used to go around in Athens and think. He was thinking, and then he met the young people, and he started to talk to the young people, and he was like kind of a teacher with young people listening at him, and developing a good conversation, developing knowledge. For him, knowledge was virtue. Virtue was knowledge. So he taught them through this Socratic method. Socratic method starts from the principle, I know that I don't know. I know that I'm ignorant. I'm aware of my own ignorance. Wisdom consists of knowing what I don't know, what I still don't know, and from the fact that I want to know this thing that I still don't know. So Socratic method is based on the recognition of my own ignorance and the humble search for the truth. So the Socratic method is this, it's a dialogue between a teacher and a group of students in which, the teacher asks open-ended questions, that encourage the students to think themselves, and to make step forward, to make step forward together in order to get to a deeper level of understanding of complex idea and concepts. So this was the Socratic method, to promote self-awareness, reflection, critical thinking. So the students were encouraged to examine their own belief and values, and to overcome, the canonical points of view and, go on, develop the knowledge beyond its current boundaries. So it was based on critical thinking, intellectual curiosity, and deeper understanding. So he got, so he was ugly, but he was particularly smart, and he got many students. All the young Athenians were very much interested in what Socrates had to say. But then, that doesn't usually happen. The old people, the people who had power in Athens, those who studied the tradition were not very happy. So, because Socrates challenged the traditional Greek values and beliefs. So he was accused. He got to a trial. He was accused. The government brought Socrates to a trial with two accusations. He was accused to corrupting the youth, because he was not promoting in the youth the traditional values and the traditional beliefs. So corrupting the youth, and second, impiety. Impiety means do not respect the the Greek gods. You know, it was impiety, so do not respect religion and corrupting the youth. So Socrates, you know, he said, but actually I didn't want to teach anything because I started by saying I'm ignorant. You know, I was an ignorant. I didn't intend to corrupt the youth. I just wanted to encourage intellectual curiosity. Okay, but he pronounced this apology. I said, I did nothing wrong. I just wanted to develop knowledge. But then he was found guilty, you know. So this assembly of 501 Athenians voted, and the majority, it was a narrow majority, but the majority voted to say no, it's guilty. Is guilty. They didn't like it. They didn't like it. Okay? So they say, okay, look, you're guilty. You're guilty, so you should be condemned to death. You drink a poison and you die in front of everybody. This is the punishment. Or Socrates, maybe you go away, you know, you're banned from the city, you go exiled, bye-bye, you're guilty. So, but Socrates, or Socrates, you can plead mercy. You know, you can say, yeah, I'm guilty, but please reconsider my punishment. Be kind. So you have three options. You plead mercy, you get die, you drink the poison, or you go exile. But then, you know, Socrates say, no, I drink the poison. Why? Because I think that I'm a citizen of Athens, and I want to comply with the law of this political community, even when I disagree with this law. This is virtue, you know? So he accepted to drink the poison by making this statement on the principles of virtue and justice. So Socrates said, yeah, I believe in the importance of accepting and obeying the law of one city or society. Even if I disagree, you know, this is the idea of political obligation. We have, when we live in a political community, we have to accept the rules of this political community, even when they are unjust, you know. So if we saw an old man who doesn't have money anymore, lives alone, and you know, it's a risk, doesn't have food anymore, so it's very starving. He goes to the supermarket, which is a huge chain with profits for millions. Would be just if he stole some bread. This would be justice to steal the bread, because I mean, he has the right, otherwise he's gonna die. The other people, they have so much million of revenues, right? But if you have a law, we must make this law respected by everybody. It's a political obligation in order to preserve social order. So, political obligation is this idea that you obey to the laws of the community, even when you disagree, when they think they are unjust. Why? You think the law is unjust, but you respect the political community, you respect the belonging of the political community. So, Socrates, the laws were established by the city's rulers and were intended to promote the common good. So he agreed with the common good of the polis. While he acknowledged that the laws could be imperfect or unjust at times, he maintained that it was the duty of citizens to obey them, rather than to challenge or subvert them. Socrates recognized that the laws of Athens had the final say in matters of justice, and to through them to undermine the very foundation of the city order. You know? So this was the situation. Let's see if we can listen at some parts of the Socrates apology. So you know, this is why I need a teaching assistant, because usually this Socrates, what is the main book written by Socrates? No book. He didn't read book. He just blah 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 blah. We know Socrates because of his student Plato, because of what Plato wrote. He wrote the Apology of Socrates, written by Plato, by Plato. So, no written works. His student, Plato wrote his main ideas. So we know Socrates thanks to the works of Plato, and especially his work on the Apology of Socrates, which means the discourse you pronounce in front of the assembly to say, yeah, I don't think I'm guilty, but I accept the law because I want to act with virtue. And act with virtue is accepting the law of the community, even when they are wrong. And acting with virtue means to be ready to give your life for the Republic. For the Republic, intended as the common good, intended as the thing that belongs to all of us. So tomorrow we will address Plato. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. If somebody still wants to send me an application for being a teaching assistant or to do an internship, send it to me. You have a question? Ask them. I'm taking this in the interest of everybody. Tell them. Okay. So well, tomorrow we're gonna close with the internship. So send me your application if you want. Okay. Bye bye.